As soon as you start the presentation, I'll start talking. All right, so our chosen company to present on and perform our analysis on is Subaru. Presenting today is myself. I'm Stephanie Huff. Also presenting is Kevin Marshall and Sam Kissel. So Subaru originated with a background in aviation. They transitioned into the automotive industry in 1958 with the launch of the Subaru 360. A common theme for the company through their values, their objectives, their motives is making their customers happy. And they have just started striving to do this, not just with their products, but with their mindful decisions to be involved in forward thinking with their commitments. They're moving towards being a socially conscious company. They're heading in that direction. And as a company, they tend to focus on safety, dependability, sustainability, and innovation. Our chosen category is the Forester line and the segments that this line tends to target. So the three segments we focused our analysis on are college hippies, urban outdoor enthusiasts, and family adventurers. So starting with our college hippie segment, this group is full of young adults. They're seeking further education. They care about their environment. They have a very laid-back approach to life, and they enjoy spending time in nature year-round. They need a reliable vehicle that is spacious and environmentally minded. Next up is our urban outdoor enthusiasts. This group is slightly older, a little bit more established. They work in a large city, they commute to work, but they enjoy taking a break and getting out into nature by themselves or with their friends. And they're really looking for a vehicle that can handle both aspects of their life, transitioning from work to play. And then last but not least is our family adventurers. They value their family time and bringing up their children to enjoy travel and outdoor exploration. And they are really looking for safety and reliability here with their vehicles. So diving into our conceptual map, this is a comparison of price versus reliability. The price is an incremental ranking of average cost of these companies' vehicles versus reliability, which is based on the average number of problems per 100 vehicles sold. So this puts Subaru in the lower right-hand quadrant, lower price, higher reliability. At this point, looking at the competitors in this nature, it puts Subaru, Hyundai, and Mitsubishi as the most similar competitors. So pulling those two competitors in a comparative strength assessment and focusing on vehicles that were most comparative to the Subaru Forester, we looked at important factors that are relevant to our analyzed segments outside of the cost and reliability that we already looked at. So that focuses us on safety, interior space, power, fuel economy, and towing capacity. So looking at this assessment, the Subaru Forester barely beat out the Tucson. The Forester pulled ahead due to the higher ranking and safety performance, which is the highest weighted factor here. And pulling up the bottom is the Mitsubishi Outlander, which was the most cost-effective and most reliable, but this line fell behind looking at the other important factors listed here. And then this slide here is a brief summary of the competitive analysis that we had just previously.
So then when we start talking about Subaru and really the automotive industry as a whole, and start looking at the collaborators going from kind of the origin of a vehicle to purchase by a customer, the first collaborator is our parts and our suppliers. We get into the design, the engineers, typically Subaru employees themselves, logistics companies who would be a third party, dealerships typically owned by Subaru, photographers who would help with a lot of the marketing materials, the promotions. We also have our lenders that Subaru will work with to try to be competitive with any outside banks. And then outside advertising agencies trying to get Subaru's vision into the minds of as many people as they can. For context, we really wanted to look at kind of like car sales versus employment and see how those tracked, especially with a lot of the conversations in 2020, 2021 about supply chain, about employment. What we found is that car sales and employment rate really are pretty highly correlated. We can see a big drop off and more of a divergence the last couple of years, but I think with the coronavirus pandemic, that's seems like more of an anomaly than than showing that the trend isn't going to continue. And really, to kind of back that up, we looked at unemployment and labor statistics, and specifically, we wanted to focus on the state of Oklahoma. Again, a lot of these factors are related to COVID-19 and what the world has been going through the last couple of years. It's led to a shortage in a lot of materials, specifically microchips, catalytic converters, some other electrical parts. The average interest rate through kind of some of this economic uncertainty is not incredibly high, but at an average rate of 4.09%. It is a little higher than what we would normally see, and probably higher than a lot of us have paid for a car from a dealership. Congested shipping and what everybody has heard as the supply chain issues is probably one of the biggest factors that's impacting Subaru in terms of context, but that's also impacting every other automobile maker as well. Similarly to the current unemployment rate, it's pretty factual, pretty standard that anybody, if you don't have a job, it's going to be harder to upgrade to that new Subaru. And then that gets us into our SWOT analysis. So we wanted to focus on the strengths that lots of people know about Subaru, which is their customer base. They're loyal, they're highly satisfied, they're really passionate about the safety. Speaking as a Subaru owner myself, I completely agree with these. I've had a Subaru either in my garage or in my parents' garage ever since I was born. Their weaknesses are, they're not very innovative. Subarus, except for a few things, are pretty similar to what they were 10 years ago. Lots of their innovations, like eyesight, are also pretty standard in the industry. But it seems like they're really taking a step to try to be more sustainable, to try to get more social involvement, which really leads us into opportunities. Global expansion. They really don't have a lot of international markets, despite being originally a Japanese company. The unemployment rate is decreasing. That does give them an opportunity that, despite still being kind of high right now, a decrease shows that they really do have the potential to do more in sales. Hopefully soon, 2022, 2023, and hopefully that will get the sales to return to their previous levels. Threats are largely current events: production, supply chain, shipping. And the market, as we could see in our analyses earlier, lots of the competitors are pretty equal in terms of quality, in terms of what they offer. And so, really, in conclusion, for the SWOT, they do have a large piece of the market. If they get a customer, they tend to keep them. Their focus is safety and reliability. They're not about being the flashiest. They're not about being the most high tech. And they really are on the cusp of standing out. They've made some big promises. They do need to deliver, and they have a lot of good opportunities. One of which, in particular, we'll talk about in a little bit. And though they do have a high brand loyalty, they also have a narrow product line. Unlike a lot of other manufacturers, Subaru doesn't offer any minivans, doesn't offer a sports car, doesn't offer a pickup truck. And then for our future state, I will toss it to Kevin.
Yeah, so we've identified 3 new market segments that for Subaru to start going towards for the future state, being retirees, off-road enthusiasts, and parents of first-time drivers. So retirees, kind of said we're in their late 60s and on, and really have more likely on a fixed income. And really, we've added 3 columns here to the right, and on a scale of 1 to 10, we rated them for sales potential, ability to reach, and investment required. And for sales potential, we rated them a 5, ability to reach 7, and investment required 1. So for sales potential, for ability to reach, we said that would be pretty easy, just because they don't really have to do anything in addition in order to reach this market. Subaru is already pretty safety conscious and reliable, which is what that market is going for. And as far as investment required, they don't really need to do anything extra except for maybe some additional marketing. So there's some brand loyalty to some competitors that this market may have that's preventing them from purchasing Subarus already, and really that additional marketing may get them to sway their decision to start purchasing Subarus instead. So there's some significant sales volume that could be headed their way if they might just start focusing that marketing on that potential market segment. For off-road enthusiasts, we've got that late 20s all the way to early 40s with some disposable income. And again, for sales potential, we rated them a 4, ability to reach a 4 again, and investment required a 4 as well, or I'm sorry, a 6. Really for that, ability to reach, it's relatively easy to reach. It's just the investment required is fairly difficult. So Subaru doesn't have anything that has a large wheelbase already that can be easily modified. So it would have to be something that the owner of the vehicle is willing to heavily modify themselves. So unlikely that a car nut is going to go and buy a brand new Subaru just to modify it heavily to go and be an off-road junkie, right? So on to the next one, the parents of the first-time drivers. So this is probably somebody in their 40s, and they're probably in the middle class. And really, they're just looking for something safe to put their children on the road in. So for sales potential, we put this at a 6, ability to reach an 8, and investment required a 4. So sales potential, this is relatively high, the highest one that we put out there. Ability to reach, again, this is the highest, an investment required 4. So relatively low there. The investment required really just because we're saying that this isn't an attractive, Subaru is not really an attractive option for teen drivers, right? So you don't see a whole lot of teen drivers, well, except for Sam out there driving around in a Subaru. You know, it's usually a little bit of older people who don't necessarily care about form. They necessarily just care about function, which nobody can dispute the function of a Subaru, right? So they might have to invest in a little bit of a nicer trim package or something that can be attractive to teen drivers. So for the targeting for both retirees and parents of the first-time drivers, we're kind of focused on the same stuff here, right? The safety and the reliability comes first and foremost for both of these. So everybody's got that grandparent or knows the parent who has the child that they really just want them being safe on the road. For the retirees, they're really focused on that Made in America feel, and for that, for all of the Subarus that are manufactured here in America, they can say that about them, right? They're made in America. So if they just make that small investment towards the marketing, again, they can sway that potential market segment towards Subaru rather than those competitors. And then for the parents of first-time drivers, again, if they could invest in a newer trim package or something that could be attractive towards teen, they could gain that market segment as well. So for the positioning statements, we came up with a few positioning statements for each of the new market segments. So for the retirees, we're going to say, spend your time enjoying the little things and less on your car. There's never been a better time to try the American-made safety and reliability of a Subaru. For off-road enthusiasts, go anywhere you want and let Subaru take you there. Parents of first-time drivers, you don't have to worry about an accident because we've done that for you. Send your new driver out onto the road knowing they're safe in a Subaru. All right. And for the 4 Ps for each of these new market segments, for the retirees, for the product, we're saying it needs to provide top of its class safety and reliability ratings, which we really kind of talked about this whole time, but it really kind of drives the point home of what they're looking for. For the price point, kind of mentioned before that this market segment is probably on a fixed income, but most likely they've budgeted for a car at the beginning of their retirement. So it's already in line with this market segment. As far as promotion, they're going to promote the safety ratings and the fact that this is manufactured in Indiana. So it's, again, they can claim that Made in America feel. And for place, we're going to say that they can have an opportunity to bring Subaru sales to the retirement facilities, right? So not necessarily a dealership opportunity, but maybe something like Carvana, or bring sales associates or with a truck full of Subarus to these retirement facilities so that they can have those sales opportunities at the facility rather than having to have these retirees show up at the dealership. For the parents of first-time drivers, we're going to, for the product, they're going to provide top-of-the-class safety for the parents to trust their children in, and that trim package for that's going to be attractive to those teens. For the price, it's got to be competitive with the used vehicles of a higher tier, and we'll talk a little bit about that more in the promotion. So for the promoting, that's going to promote the safety rating and the fact that you can get a brand new car for the same price as a used one, right? So again, that brand new Subaru is going to be the same price as a used car of a higher tier. So if you can get, a brand new Subaru versus, a very old used Ford Mustang, maybe a little fancier, but I'm going to probably choose the brand new Subaru, especially if it has that nicer trim package that we were talking about. For place, the dealership location is pretty irrelevant on this one. However, we did say that there could be specials given around high schools that could bring in this new business.
I think sorry,
Oh,
Kevin. I think I actually just get past this one.
There we go. All right. So for the off-road enthusiasts, we're going to say that the product needs to provide all-wheel drive performance with exceptional torque and potential for modification. So we know that those off-road enthusiasts love to modify their vehicles. They're all car nuts. For the price, most of the off-road vehicles are heavily modified and require that low price point to start with. So that's kind of going to be a downside for them, right? So unfortunately, most of the enthusiasts are probably not going to want to buy a brand new Subaru in order to just heavily modify it afterwards. So they could go buy a used Subaru, of course, but again, it's just going to be some potential downside. So for the promotion, they're going to promote the all-wheel drive performance of the entire Subaru line, which of course we've been talking about this whole time. They've got great performance in that category. And for the place, the dealerships are going to be located near mountainous terrain, and that's going to be ideal. But of course, as we pointed out earlier, they're going to really, for off-road enthusiasts, it doesn't really matter where they're located. They're going to get lost on a poorly marked trail regardless of where they are. So.
And then finally, we want to talk about our outcome. It really takes into account a lot of what we've talked about. It just so happens that we had been thinking a lot about Subaru and what their possibilities would be in the EV market. And a couple weeks ago, in November 2021, Subaru announced the all-electric Solterra crossover SUV, which should be finished with development next year and hitting the market in 2023. So our targeted outcome for Subaru is to finish development and sell 100,000 units by the end of 2023. The development of an all-terrain EV allows Subaru to challenge its new competitors like Tesla, but also strengthen competition with their existing competitors, Hyundai, Honda, Mitsubishi, and to really be a leader in safe all-terrain EVs that really strengthen their brand with both their existing loyal Subaru owners, but also their new customers that are looking for a reliable, high-quality, safe EV. It seems like a really slam dunk opportunity for Subaru. 100,000 units would, if they hit that number, it would make the Solterra their fourth best-selling model behind the Forester that we've talked about, as well as the Outback and the Crosstrek. And it would increase their overall sales from 2020 by 16%. So that's our target for Subaru. We really think that they can hit it. We really think that they should hit it based on where they have been. And we're really looking forward to seeing this model come to fruition. And then finally, we just have a slide with all of our references. We're really excited about Subaru. They've been doing a lot of great things, and we're really confident that they'll continue to do it.